Welcome to the webinar Taxes for My International Online Shop. My name is Laureen and I will be your host, and with me in the studio are entrepreneur Emma Hutchison from Fling.nl.
Hi.
Hi, good to have you here.
Thank you.
Entrepreneur Sebastian Polizzello from capsulestudio.net.
Hi.
Hi. And Johan Lavra and Sandra Woods, both from KVK, the Netherlands Chamber of Commerce.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
So, in this webinar, we will update you on the various taxes you have to deal with as an online shop and what the rules are for import and export. And maybe it's good to start with the beginning. So, Johan, I'm going to start with you. If you start an online shop in the Dutch market, which taxes do you have to deal with?
If you start your own business in the Netherlands, it's always the same taxes. It's the VAT, it's income tax, and in certain cases, it's also an excise duty, which has to do with alcohol, probably something Emma can tell you all about. But those are the most important. As a business, at the end of the year, you need to do your income tax, which is for everyone. The tax office will charge you a certain percentage that you need to pay in taxes. And that's what happens. And on top of that, there's the VAT tax, which is done 4 times a year.
And how does it work? So 4 times a year, and what is it?
Once you make the registration, you'll get 2 tax numbers. You'll get the VAT number that you'll be using towards your clients, and you'll get an ID number that you can use to declare your online VAT taxes. So every 3 months you log in and you declare to the tax office the amount of VAT you received from clients minus the amount of VAT you paid on purchases on behalf of your business. So once you make that calculation, you'll know what to enter and what you need to declare to the tax office. It's as simple as that.
And there are different rates, different percentages for the Dutch VAT. Which ones are there?
There are 3, and for most businesses, it's the 21%. The general tariff when it comes to VAT is 21%. So you can find out on the tax office website that it could be handy. All the exceptions to the rule are mentioned there. So if you have an activity, maybe you're in food or drinks, or maybe in certain sectors, you might be eligible for the lower VAT tariff, which is 9%. If you go abroad, it could be 0% in VAT. But those are exceptions. They're mentioned on the tax office website. If you are not an exception, automatically you need to charge clients with the 21% in VAT.
Okay, so there's some bookkeeping rules involved there. Sebastian, as an entrepreneur, how do you keep track of your Dutch sales? How do you do that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And when we started out, we were, of course, really small, and we had a small budget. So we thought, let's do this ourselves. So we tried to keep track of everything in Excel, and like mentioned here, you need to file your taxes 4 times per year. And of course, we missed that deadline, so we got a little fine of 50 euros from the tax authority. So we thought, this is not worth it. Let's outsource this. So we found a very good bookkeeper who's doing all the taxes and filings for us. Also does our personal income tax. So really have the whole picture of all VAT and tax questions for us.
So that would be an advice from your part.
I would strongly recommend it. I think that's a small amount to spend per month. You can deduct that amount from your taxes anyway. So I would really recommend to anyone starting out to have an advisor, a tax advisor from the start, to make sure everything is filed correctly. Even if your revenue or your income is quite small in the beginning, it's still worth it to have a good record of everything you're spending and to make sure that your taxes go out correctly.
Okay,
That's true.
Well, thank you. So Johan and Sebastian, you added on, those are the Dutch taxes, the Dutch part, the Dutch VAT system. So Sandra, if we take a look abroad, I'm going to ask you some hypothetical combinations of factors. So there are different, let's start in general first, there are different rates for foreign sales. So what rates do you use abroad?
Well, it depends on if you deliver goods to a private individual or to a company. And that's a big difference.
Okay.
While you file the Dutch VAT, or you file the foreign VAT or 0.
Okay, so that let's start off then. Then we take private individuals. So you sell as a Dutch company to private individuals abroad. We also call that remote sales. Maybe good to keep in mind. But within the EU, also very important. And your annual turnover is less than 10,000 euros. Do you have to file a declaration abroad?
In this case, less than 10,000 euros, you can choose to file a tax return with the Dutch VAT, or you can choose to do it abroad, to the foreign VAT. Mostly it's better to do the VAT in the Netherlands then. It's less complicated.
Less complicated, easier, accessible maybe.
Easy accessible.
Okay, so that's if it's less than 10,000 euros.
Yes.
So what if it's over 10,000 euros to private individual in the total turnover?
If it's more than 10,000 euros, you have to ask for the tax return in the foreign country, in the other country.
Okay.
You can do it for every country individual, or you can do it by the International One-Stop Shop. We also call it the OS or OSS, whether you can choose. Then you can do that in one go. For example, you have individuals in Germany, Belgium. You can do your tax return by the OS in one time for both the countries.
Oh, that sounds good.
It's good, but it's still a little complicated.
Still a little complicated.
Yes.
Okay. So what should we take in account if you were to use that one-stop shop for your foreign sales?
You have to register first at Mijn Belastingdienst and then the part VAT. And with the registration, you can try to do it yourself, the tax return. But my advice will be to let it be done by a specialist, an accountant or a bookkeeper, because it can be complicated. And once you miss something or you do something wrong, it can have a lot of consequences.
Yeah. So a small fine would be nothing in that case. And
Yes.
Especially because it's done abroad, there might be other difficulties as well.
Yes, exactly. And the system, the one-stop shop system, is it's new. It's as July 1st of this year. It started. So there are little things that's not you're used to work with.
Exactly.
So there are specialists. Not all the accountants already know how it works, but a lot of them have the trainings and they know how to do it.
Exactly. Okay, good. So good to keep in mind. But of course, you have various sources of income when you do international sales as well. There are various ways of getting that money into your account. So Emma, I'm wondering, for international sales, which platforms do you use, or how do you have your money arranged?
Yeah, so we have quite small international sales at the moment, but they are growing and we have plans to make them grow further. So we're using a payment provider platform that collects all the money in on our behalf. It also gives the customer flexibility into what payment method to use. So that could be a debit card, a credit card, it could be Ideal or an equivalent internationally, or it could be PayPal. So there's different ways that they can pay. The payment provider reconciles all that, and then when the payment clearance is done, then we receive our money.
Exactly. And you know, because of your invoices, if it's a sell abroad with a credit card or if it's in the Netherlands or within the EU?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. Nice. Okay, so finishing up that private buying part, and if we were to look at the entrepreneurs, so if you sell to other entrepreneurs within the EU, Sandra, how does it work? So selling as a Dutch company to other entrepreneurs within the EU?
Basically, you can charge the 0% VAT rate,
Okay.
but then you need to do some things to do this first, is to check whether the VAT number of your buyer is correct, if it's a company, because it's not always a company and they say they are a company, so you have to check the VAT number. You can check that in a system of the European Union. It's called the VIS system. It's like a database where all the VAT numbers of the companies within the Union are or based.
Collected.
You can check it there. If you have a red answer, it's not in there, or there is some other thing that's wrong. Maybe the VAT number doesn't match the company name, for example. If it's green, you can use the VAT number. Then you have to state the number on your invoice with the remark refers VAT to, and then you mention the VAT number. So the tax office in the Netherlands also know that you refer the VAT to the other country.
Okay, so that's something to keep in mind, to have that on your form, on your invoice.
Yes.
Okay. So what about the rules if you import your goods from abroad? We have to deal with customs, for example, or how does that work?
Import from abroad is then you use that term import if you're going to import outside of the European Union into the Union.
Okay.
So if you have import within the European Union, we don't use the term import, but we use inter-community transaction, also ICT. If you say, okay, you're going to import abroad, then you mean country outside of the European Union. In that case, you can have to do with import duties. And it depends on whether the country you import from has a free trade agreement with the European Union. If they have, and the goods suits the condition to have the free trade agreement, then you pay zero VAT and zero import duty, and just the VAT as is the rate in the Netherlands.
Okay.
If there are not a free trade agreement, then you have to pay the import duty. And the import duty you pay over the custom value. And the custom value is the value of the goods added with the insurance and most of the time the transport cost. Then you pay the import duty and added it up, and then you pay the VAT. So if you make a calculation, make it the right way, because if you do it the wrong way, you're going to miss some.
Okay, okay. Good to keep in mind.
Yes.
And there's this phenomena called drop shipping.
Oh yes, very popular.
What is it?
Well, it's if you go, you order something on a webshop in the Netherlands, for example, but the owner of the online shop placed the order, for example, to the manufacturer in China, and ask him to send the goods directly to the purchasers, the individual you sent it to. In that case, you don't know that the shipment is from China to your house. You think that the online shop will send it to you. That's called drop shipping. So the manufacturer in China sends an invoice to the online shop to pay, and they deliver it to you. What is the difficult with that is it sounds easy for the online shop because they don't have anything in stock, but they can't be sure that the product suits the product safety, because in the European Union we have strict rules for product safety. So it's a tricky way to do business. So I always warn them, check first what kind of products you're going to import through drop shipping. If it's like toys, small machine, or electric consumer products, be careful, because they need a CE marking, and that's a special safety regulations for the European Union. And if you miss that and something goes wrong, a few weeks ago there was like a telephone charger was something went wrong and it caught fire. If you can say, okay, I bought it at that online shop and that happened, your liability for the, your product liability for the safety of that product, so they can sue you.
So the online shop is accountable for what it's
Yes,
sold.
because the customer doesn't know that he purchased the goods at a China shop. He orders it at an online shop in the Netherlands. And the rules in the European says that if you're going to import a product outside the European Union into the Union, your product liability, they see you as the manufacturer. So if I want to sue you, I sue not the manufacturer in China, but the online shop. And you have to be aware of that if you do like drop shipping. It can work for some products, you know, if there are products who product safety is not really, it's not really dangerous or anything.
But it also opens the door for counterfeits, of course.
It does open the door, and it's difficult to check that out. Sometimes you can see it, most of the time through the price, but it's not always like that. So you have to check that first.
Okay. So there's a lot of things that come in hand when you're watching your international sales.
Yes, it's difficult, but it can be done. But you have to check first if it's a trustworthy partner you work with abroad.
Yeah.
And you don't check that by doing business online with them.
Yeah.
You have to get a trust from them, build a relationship, and if there's something wrong with the products, that you can check it with them.
Yeah.
And for the example we have is like China, most of the time the products say, okay, there's a CE on it, and you say, okay, I think the product is right. But CE is also in China for China export, because you need a license to export products for out China. And they put like CE mark on it, saying it's a China export product.
Yeah.
But it's something else than a CE mark for product safety in the European Union.
Yeah.
So beware of that.
So good to keep in mind.
Yes.
Emma, you do international sales as well. You import as well, or maybe within the EU, so not calling it import in that case.
No.
Yeah, so how does that work?
So a lot of our supply comes directly from the Netherlands, but we do bring in from other European countries, but we also have brought in from outside of the EU. And we're fully aware that we are the importers into the EU, and it comes with a responsibility. So for us, we have to keep on top of the rules. And alcohol, again, we have the pleasure of paying alcohol tax, as well as the standard import taxes, and obviously any VATs that are due. So.
Yeah, good. Good to keep in mind. Maybe some final questions to wrap things up. Sebastian, I was wondering, what would you do differently? Would you do anything differently if you were to set up your online shop today?
Yeah, if we would start all over again, I think there's a few things we would do differently. We would invest a lot more, and we would go a lot bigger from the start. Of course, when you start out, you can be scared and you can think, well, what if it fails? But to succeed, you really need to go all in, I think, from the start. And the second one is, I think we're quite good at it, but to be even more customer obsessed and to always put the customer first, and to think, how can we make the absolutely best experience for every single customer? Because that's the way to get them to come back, to spread the word, and to grow your business, is to always put the customer first.
Customer obsessed. Nice expression. And Emma, for you?
I think for us, it would be easy to say that we'd change the product because it would be easier, but we are really enthusiastic about gin. So for us, that is what we want to do. As Sebastian says, maybe you might not think it's going to work out, and we're two years down the line. We wish we had a bigger warehouse, and that is because we've been successful. So there's always something to learn. But one thing I definitely wouldn't change is the partnership with Gary, because we balance each other really well.
Can imagine. So we've heard all about income taxes, VAT, and what you need to be aware of if you do business abroad. It is important to familiarize yourself with the regulations and get advice from experts. And then you will certainly have a successful start of your online shop.